Clara Mendoza worked late into the night, the soft hum of her sewing machine filling the empty shop as rain hammered against the windows. She had always lived a quiet life, threading needles and shaping fabric. But tonight something extraordinary happened. A small bundle lay on her doorstep, the cries of a newborn piercing the storm and clutching it. She discovered two tiny babies wrapped in a thin blanket and a note that simply said, "Protect them." Their eyes were closed and they trembled. In her hands, and Clara knew that everything in her life was about to change forever. She carried them inside and placed them in a basket by the fireplace. Her heart raced as she looked at their fragile forms and wondered who could have left them alone. She had no family and barely enough money to care for herself, but something deep inside told her she could not turn them away. She whispered softly to the babies, assuring them that they were safe, and that she would not let anything happen. To them, and for the first time in years, Clara felt the weight of responsibility and a thrill of hope all at once. Days turned into weeks, and Clara became a mother overnight. She named them Leah and Leo and spent every waking hour tending to their needs. The neighbors whispered behind her back, and some doubted that a young seamstress could raise twins alone. But Clara ignored their doubts and worked harder. She crafted tiny clothes from scraps of fabric and sang lullabies she had made up. To soothe their cries, every night she would hold them and imagine what kind of life they would have, when suddenly one day she noticed a man watching from across the street, a stranger with sharp eyes who vanished before she could ask anything. And Clara felt a chill run down her spine, wondering if he had something to do with the babies. The years passed, and Leah and Leo grew into curious, bright children. Their laughter filled the small shop, transforming it into a place of warmth and light. Clara watched them play and dreamed of the future, yet a shadow lingered in her heart. She never stopped thinking about the note and the mysterious father who had left them. There were moments when the twins would ask about their father, and Clara would smile and say that he loved them very much somewhere far away, but she could not hide the fear that one day someone would come back to claim them. One rainy afternoon, a letter arrived addressed to Clara in a fancy envelope with no return address. She opened it with trembling hands, and inside was a business card with the name Elias Grayson, a man who had left the town years ago after a tragedy. She remembered whispers of a wife who died in childbirth and the heartbreak of a father who lost his children. Clara felt her pulse quicken, her stomach twisting in knots. She did not know if she should fear him or welcome him, but one thing was certain. He was coming back, and she was not ready for what was about to happen. Clara spent sleepless nights thinking about the future, trying to prepare for the impossible. She imagined Elias entering the shop, his gaze falling on Leah and Leo. She imagined the questions he would ask, and the secrets he would demand. She could almost hear the echo of his footsteps in the hallway as she tucked the twins into bed and tried to shield them from the storm outside, but the wind howled, and she knew that no matter how hard she tried, the past was about to collide with the present. The day came when a sleek black car rolled into the street and stopped in front of her shop. Elias Grayson stepped out, his presence commanding the attention of everyone around. He was older than she remembered, and yet there was a familiar sadness in his eyes. Clara felt her heart pound as he approached, smiling politely, but with an intensity that made her knees weak. She held the twins behind her as if her very body could protect them from what was coming. But Elias looked straight at them, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. He knelt down to their level, his eyes searching their faces, and then he whispered something that made Clara freeze. His voice trembled with a mixture of fear and awe, and the twins looked up at him with wide eyes, and Clara realized that the quiet life she had built was about to shatter forever, and she did not know if she could survive the storm that was heading straight toward her shop. Clara held her breath as Elias extended his hand toward the twins and their small Fingers curled around his larger ones. Hesitation and fear mixed in their eyes, and Clara felt a pang of protectiveness stronger than anything she had ever known. She wanted to tell him to leave, to disappear back into the world he came from, but something in his expression made her pause. There was pain, their regret, and a longing that mirrored her own, and for the first time she wondered if the note had been meant to save them from him, or from something far worse. Elias spoke softly, introducing himself as their father, and explaining a life that seemed almost impossible to comprehend. The twins listened in silence, their young minds struggling to process the truth, and Clara watched their faces for any sign of rejection or fear, but found only curiosity and a spark of recognition. That spark made her heart ache with hope and terror at the same time. She knew that once they accepted him, nothing could ever return to the way it had been. Days turned into weeks as Elias attempted to reconnect with Leah and Leo. He brought gifts and stories of places they could only dream of. He offered them experiences beyond the small town, and yet he never pressured them to leave. Clara watched with a mixture of relief and anxiety, wondering how much of the past she could reveal without losing the trust she had built. She feared that any misstep would shatter the fragile bond between them, and that the twins would be torn in two directions. One evening, Elias invited Clara to his home, a sprawling mansion filled with art and antiques, and she walked through its halls feeling both awe and unease. Every room seemed to whisper of a life she could never have imagined yet. She could not deny the pull of curiosity. There were photos of a woman who looked like the twins in a way that made Clara's chest tighten, and a letter tucked behind a painting that hinted at secrets even Elias did not yet know. She felt the air grow heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The next morning, Clara found a hidden envelope in the twins' room addressed to her in a handwriting that she recognized immediately. It was from the person who had left them years ago, the one who had orchestrated their separation and protected them from a danger that only now she understood. She opened it with trembling hands and read the words that revealed a shocking truth that would change everything once again, and she realized that someone was watching them even now, confronted with the revelation. Clara knew she had to act quickly. She gathered Elias and told him everything, the threats, the mystery, the reason the twins had been left in her care. She could see the weight of the news crash over him, his composure faltering for the first time, and together they planned how to protect the children from a shadow neither of them had fully comprehended. They could feel the danger closing in, but neither could imagine losing them. Now, the final night came when the wind howled and shadows stretched across. The walls of the small shop Clara and Elias stayed awake with Leah, and Leo tucked close. They could hear the faintest footsteps outside, a rhythm that made their hearts pound. They whispered reassurances and made silent promises to each other and to the twins that no matter what the world threw at them, they would face it together. Then the door creaked, and a figure appeared in the doorway. In that moment, time seemed to freeze, and Clara held her breath as the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that would haunt them and protect them all at once. The twins clutched her hands and Elias moved closer. Their family bound not by wealth or circumstance, but by the choices of love and courage. And Clara realized that the life she had built through threads and care was now entwined with something far greater and more dangerous than she had ever imagined. And the story was only just beginning.